Hello and welcome to another episode of the Jump Music Initiative podcast. Today we have with us Damian Keys. Welcome.
Hi.
So Damian is an award-winning entrepreneur, educator, music industry, and social media specialist, musician, author, and YouTuber. So I'm going to pass it over to you, actually, Damian, to give us a more in-depth look at how you got started in the music industry and what it is that you do now.
Wow, that was a great introduction. I'm going to take you around everywhere. That was brilliant. Thank you. Well, my background is mostly in music education because you hear about these artists that get signed to major record labels and then they become multimillionaires and they sell millions of records. And what you don't see is all of the artists that get signed to major labels and then just get spat out the other side that nobody knows about. And so, from my point of view of growing up, wanting to be a musician, working really hard to get that record label to get signed, and then finally getting it and thinking, this is it. This is like, I've done it. We've done everything that we needed to be. We had all of the things, that you associate. We had a manager, we had an A&R man, which I don't know if you ever met someone in A&R, but they're kind of like, I don't know, they're kind of like just these mythical creatures that you just hear about, the magic people. And so from our point of view, we were like, this is it. We're going to be the next massive band and everything's going to be great. And then 6 months later or 9 months later, we got dropped off the label and that was the end. And so at that point I was like, well, I have no education at all. Like I did my sort of high school, I failed that. I had to resit the year. So I was like, I need to do something in music. What is that? What's that going to be? So I moved to a different city and just started, playing anywhere and everywhere just to make ends meet. And at that point, started figuring out the music industry and started realizing that when I got signed, all the things, when you first get signed, you don't know. And so I remember being 18 years old and saying, I'll do whatever it takes. The problem is nobody tells you what that is. So you're constantly there saying, I'll do whatever it takes. If you just tell me what it takes, if you tell me what to do, I'll go and do it, but I don't know what to do. So at that point, I started thinking, well, someone needs to do that. Someone needs to tell us what to do. And so that became the mission then. It became this kind of music education. I started I worked at a music college as a lecturer, and then myself and some of my friends, we set up our own university in the UK, which then grew much bigger than we expected, and it grew into different cities in the UK, and then from there it grew into Europe, and now it's the largest set of music colleges in the world, which we never set it up for that reason. It just kept growing and growing. And then after that, I sold that a few years back and started a management company where I could help artists. And then recently I've started this membership where I can help artists. So my career has mostly been in helping and working with young artists to figure out how to go from I've made music to how do I actually get this in front of people and build an audience.
Absolutely. And to follow up, the first question I want to ask is for young artists just going out and getting started on maybe their first project, what are maybe the top things that they need to know when they're just about to release music?
Okay, good answer. So there's a couple of things. So firstly, it's got to be fun, because when you're a musician and you're doing this and it's enjoyable, it is the best job in the world. It's so fun. You get to go on tour with your friends. You get to, you're literally traveling around in tour buses and planes and vans, and brilliant, total fun. But if you're not enjoying it, it's horrible, because you're away from your friends and your family. And at that point, it's more like a prison sentence at that point. So it's horrible. So firstly, it's got to be fun. Secondly, the most important rule is you have to have control. And so we hear, everyone's heard these horror stories of record labels and massive artists selling millions of records and ending up broke or having no money. And the reason is because they don't have any control. So if someone knocks on the door and says, hey, do you want to be famous? People go, perfect, I'll take it. And then all of a sudden off they go. 5 years later, they're famous, but they aren't making any money. And they say, where's the money? And the labels are saying, we've got the money. That's our bit. We take the money. And so what we need to do as artists is we need to have control. And the way we have control is knowledge and an audience. Because if we build the audience, at that point, we can monetize the audience. And whether that looks like going on tour and having people come to buy our tickets, whether it's people going and downloading our, streaming our music, streaming stuff on YouTube, streaming content, whether it's buying merchandise, it's about having the audience that you can control. And so therefore, if you can do that, you win, because you get artists like Chance the Rapper, for example. Chance the Rapper sells like $6 to $8 million a year in hats. And so when people say there's no money in music, well, there is in hats. And so Chance the Rapper is like saying, look, the music is the thing. That's the bit I want to do. But how I monetize it doesn't necessarily have to be old school CDs or old school. It's like the music is how I build the audience. The audience is up to me to monetize it. And then when I go and sell tickets, I can make lots of money. If I want to sell merch, I can make lots of money. If I want to do sync deals with, which means getting your music onto your favorite TV shows or computer games or films, there's lots and lots of money. And so it's about understanding the music industry and understanding that when you've got music, what this is an asset. And what you do with the music is the most important thing.
Of course, yeah, I absolutely adore that. So when you're talking about artists and audience, what platforms of social media should artists be investing in? Like, do you see something like TikTok taking over Instagram versus all the different social media platforms? It's kind of hard for young artists to choose. Which ones do you think are the best ones right now?
Yeah, definitely MySpace. No, not really. So. All the platforms sort of change, and they all have different kind of they have different pros and cons, and so and it all depends on the audience that you're trying to get in front of and the skill set that you have. So people will say TikTok is amazing. Well, TikTok is amazing if you're good at TikTok, and Instagram is amazing if you're good at Instagram. For me, there's issues with things like TikTok, which is getting your music in the back end of TikTok is, as we've seen with The Weeknd, who is now the most, the biggest artist on Spotify, the number one artist on Spotify right now, or he was last week, is The Weeknd. And we've seen this growth since Blinding Lights came out on TikTok. Then from there, that elevated him. From there, he got the Super Bowl performance, and he's just been getting bigger and bigger and bigger. And obviously he was a big artist, but TikTok really pushed him into a new level. But it wasn't him on TikTok, it was his music that was on TikTok that everyone was using. When it comes to social media platforms where you are building the audience, you need to have a platform that you can show off what you do. So for example, you're writing 3-minute, 4-minute songs. And so if you say, well, I'm going to go on Twitter, it isn't really indicative of music. People aren't going onto Twitter to say, "Cool, give me that music faster." So what we want to do is we want to say, well, let's find the right platform. So for me, at this moment, and if someone's watching this in 6 months' time, it might not be the same thing. But at this moment, the beginning of 2021, Instagram and YouTube, those two things are powerful. And if you look at, the biggest artists in the world and the biggest managers. So for example, I love Scooter Braun. And whether you love or hate Justin Bieber, Scooter Braun is like, he's the guy, he's the man. He's amazing. And the reason is because he understands that music is content and video is content. And so therefore, he's not getting caught up in, it should be about the music. He's saying it is, but it's also about the video, and it's also about the communication, and it's also about everything. And so when he puts out music, Justin Bieber releases a new album. Then 2 weeks later, he releases an extended version of the album with more songs in. 2 weeks later, he releases a new EP. Like, how many artists are releasing music at that level when he's doing videos? At the moment, he's putting out 3 or 4 videos a day on YouTube. Whereas most artists are going, I put a new song out last month, and I'm looking to do another video for, maybe 2 videos for my next single. And you look at the likes of Justin Bieber, Ariana Grande, they're doing 10 videos for one song. because what used to happen, it was like, here's the song and here's the music video. Whereas now, because we've got Netflix and social media and computer games and everything else, now it's like, I need to get attention. So I need to get you to listen to this song multiple times. So here's something new to watch, the song's attached. Here's something different to watch, and the song's attached. Here's something different to watch, and the song's attached. Trying to get it in enough times so people are thinking, hey, I do like that song. You know, a classic example with that is, you know, a year or however long ago it was, Justin Bieber released Yummy. And I remember listening to it and just thinking, this is dog poo. I don't understand how a song which goes yummy, 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 yummy is #1 in the charts. Problem is, then I heard it about 10 times. And then I was like, yeah, it's quite good, actually. I quite like it because it went in enough times. And so that's our job as musicians. People think our job as artists is to get a song in front of someone to get them to listen to the song. But it's not. Our job is to get that song into someone's life playlist so they listen to it when they go to the supermarket or to the gym or on a drive in the car, because they go, what do I feel like listening to? Because my phone's going to plug into the car or into my headphones. Ooh, I'll listen to that new song. And songs are coming in and songs are going out. If we get that song in front of you, you might say, yeah, I heard it. It's good. If we get it in front of you 5 times, you're more likely to go, oh yeah, I do like that song. And then it's like, what do I want to listen to? Oh, I know. I'll check out that new song, and then you're in. And that's the momentum we've got to get with our songs. And that's what videos can do.
Absolutely. So Damian, I wanted to ask you a little bit more about release strategies for young artists. So you talk a lot about having maybe a 6-week release plan, and then there's very specific items. But for young artists who have no idea going into it what they need to do or what the most important things are, what would you say to that? How do you organize?
Yeah, it's really good. So because, you know, when you look at, we're talking about Scooter Braun, who has a lot of money and a lot of things to, you know, that he can use. But what we need to do is we need to think about, rather than a release, we need to think about what releases look like. What does a release look like to an artist? So like way back in the day, which was a Wednesday back in the day, like when people used to release music, they would say, I'll put the album out, but I'm going to put some singles out. And then eventually people will go to town and they will buy a physical copy of music. And nowadays they don't do that. And so as soon as something gets released, whether that's on YouTube or Instagram or Spotify or anywhere else, technically it's kind of been released because I've heard it, I can get it, which it didn't used to be the case. I had to physically have something to play it on. So therefore you can release it on the radio, but unless I'm going to tape it, proper old school, like I can't get it. So nowadays we can put out stuff on YouTube and call it a release. We can put stuff out on SoundCloud or Spotify or anywhere else and call it a release. So the first thing is, what do we want the release to look like? And people have this idea of traditional releases. I don't think that's the way. I think what should happen is we should think about, as we're writing and recording songs, where do we want that to be for people to be able to consume, and how are we going to promote it? So the reason why I say 6 weeks, 4 to 6 weeks for a song, weirdly enough, is because Spotify makes mistakes. Well, DistroKid and TuneCore make mistakes. So the amount of times I've been sat with an artist on a Zoom call and they're in the other side of the world and they're saying, I uploaded my music to DistroKid, it's not there. And I'm there going, let's go and find out where it is. And it's been like uploaded to someone else's profile, or it hasn't been uploaded properly. And those things take time. You've got to get in touch with whoever's putting it up there, and you have to go and actually get them to move it. And so the reason why I say it needs a long time is not just for the promotion, but also because things go wrong. Sometimes when you go, oh, we're going to record this new song in the studio, and then the mix, you know, them actually tweaking and finalizing the mix or the master, those things sometimes take an extra week. Or sometimes people say, I've got someone to mix my song. We've recorded everything. Now all the levels have to be balanced out. And at that point, we've sent it off and they say it's going to be a week. And of course, 2 weeks go past, 3 weeks go past, and you're thinking, this is going out in a week. So that's why we need a lot of time. Things go wrong. But also when it comes to actually promoting it, we want this. What we want from being an artist, we want to think about the next few releases, and we want to have a really steady wave of promotion. So excitement goes up as you're promoting it. As people say, yeah, I've heard that now, and it starts to come down, we start working on the next one. And as that one starts to get excited and it comes down, we start working on the next one. Whereas what most artists do, 24 hours, and they just go, our song's out, our song's out. Then it gets to the next day, and then they go, shall I ask them again? And it feels like spam. And what happens then is it goes 24 hours, nothing. And then a month later, they go 24 hours, nothing. So that's what we want to do. We want to say, how do we prolong that? And so content is the key, content of, hey, if I've written a song, the question to ask yourself as a new artist is, where can I put this song? Like, can I attach it to a video? Can I do a performance of it? Can I put it onto a podcast? Can I do an interview with it in the background? Can I make a montage of something else and attach the song? Where can I put this? Have I got a friend who's got a decent Instagram that I can say, can you play this for me? Where can I've got a thing and I just need to put it in lots of places. And that becomes your starting off goal is, I have this thing and I just want to put it in places that people will find out about it.
Absolutely. So how social media is obviously a huge part of all of this, and building an audience is the first step. So how do we start building an audience, the very first step?
Yeah, it's a great question. And so when I was a kid, there was no social media because I'm like 300. And so what would happen is we would basically put on gigs in rehearsal rooms, and then we'd invite our friends. And then from those friends, we would hope that if we did a really good show, then our friends would bring other friends, and our friends would be saying, oh, you've got to come and see this band. And like the 20 people that we could get there would then eventually be 30 people and eventually be 50 people. Social media is no difference whatsoever. We still need that word of mouth. And the reason for that is because we don't get the organic growth that we used to get, which we used to get a lot of. We used to be able to put something out, YouTube will push it, Instagram will push it. And now, because there's so much noise, and by that I mean so many people posting pictures of their food or their feet or something else, and all of a sudden there's nothing new or exciting. So we're all fighting for that attention. And so what we need to do now is we need to say, right, I can't rely on a platform to get my message out. So what can I do? Is it going to be adverts? Is it going to be me talking to people? Is it me going out on the street and telling people? Is it me going down to the club or meeting someone who is just at my school or college and having a chat, and when they say this is what I do, you say, oh yeah, no, I'm a band. Have you got YouTube? Get a YouTube. I'll add me on YouTube. It's just all of a sudden you're forcing it through. There's another subscriber, there's another follower. Add me on Instagram. Check me out on TikTok. Go and add me on Snapchat. It's still there saying my job is to promote. And if we don't have the money to advertise, then we got to find a new, exciting, creative way. And the best way we can do it is on Instagram. I like Instagram, from a promoting for young people. But if you're looking at Instagram, there's one button, which is the share button, where someone can share. So the question for today is, what can you do to make somebody say, I have to show someone else this? This is so good, I have to press that share button. That means you're going to get in front of new people. So every day is not what can I post, it's what can I put that someone else is going to share.
I love that. That's so enlightening. So when we're talking about audiences and, especially with Instagram, how do you turn your audience members into fans, like long-standing people who are going to purchase your stuff, be with you the whole way of the ride? How are you going to turn those people into fans?
And so this is probably the most important thing that we can do. So everybody is in some state of, after they know who you are. So let's say people go, I've never heard of you. Who are you? As soon as you say, oh, I know who you are, from there onwards, they are aware of you. And from there, they will start to go, oh, I keep seeing your stuff. And then it might be, I quite like your stuff. And it might be, hey, I follow you on Instagram. Each bit is just a little bit further down towards being a fan. And someone who says, oh, I want to come and see your show. I want to buy those tickets. I want to buy that t-shirt, right the way through to, I am obsessed. I'm going to break into your house and, those weirdos, like everything in between is kind of like, is the journey of from don't know who you are to a fan. Our job is to create value and look after people. And so there's loads of artists that do this really, really well. So what happens? An example of this is you put out a post on social media, you do a song, and someone says, this is great. Now, at this point, you can do one of many things. You can ignore it. You can just click the like button. You can say, cheers, thanks. Or you can really look after that person. You can click into their profile. You can send them a DM, and you could send them a video message or even an audio message and just say, I really appreciate the fact that you watched my video and you sent me that comment. And I know it's silly, but it really means a lot to me. Thank you so much. Now, at that point, because nobody does that, the person who just received that message is going to go, no way, send me a voice message. Like, I noticed this like about a year ago where I'm not great at typing. I'm really busy and I'm like, typing takes me ages. So I just used to send voice messages. So I'd be like, someone would ask me a question on Instagram and I'd just literally hold the microphone button down and say, hey dude, this is the answer. And the amount of people that would be like, no way, you sent me a voice message. And in my head, I'm like, yeah, this is me being lazy, actually. This is like the quickest way that I can possibly message you. But it's the same thing as if I send someone a text message is very different if I send them a handwritten letter, which is very different to if I turn up at their door and I'd be like, I just thought I'd come and answer your question. Like, we put different levels of excitement and of what is good and what is not onto different ways of communication. So we just have to look after people. So there's this great story where I'm into this band called Arkells, who are in Canada. Huge band in Canada, not big in the UK. So I was in New York. I saw them play live. They were just brilliant. I was on this call telling this guy who is from Canada about this band. And I was like, this band look after their audience better than pretty much anyone I've ever seen. And this guy goes, this is the weirdest thing, but I'm from Canada. And they came to my town. I was going to see them live. And I sent them a tweet of me playing guitar to one of their songs. And I just said, hey, if you need another guitarist tonight, as a joke, just tweeted them. And they tweeted him back and just said, bring your guitar. And so they basically said, bring your guitar. And then they DM'd him and said, meet us backstage. So what happened is he brought his guitar to this show in front of about 5,000 people. He went back to the backstage area and said, hi, my name's John. And they told me to come backstage. And the guy on security was like, I've been expecting you. They took him backstage. During the gig, halfway through the gig, that song is about to be played. They bring him on stage. They plug him in with his guitar in front of like 5,000 people. And they say, this is John. He's going to play guitar for us. And he plays this song. They give him a hug. He goes away. Now, at this point, they've just changed his life. Like, they've literally just gone, you'll never need to not talk about this story. This is the greatest story ever. So they've changed his life. He goes away. He tells all his friends, all his family. He's now made legacy to those people as well. Not only that, there's 5,000 people who then just go, oh, that band, absolutely lovely. What a great thing to do. They've provided legacy in him, his friends, his social media, and all of those people. And if you think about it, how much did that cost? Nothing, literally not a penny. It was them just going, that'd be nice. That'd be a nice thing to do. He won't forget that. And in doing so, they got the news, they got into like the Canadian news, the regional news, they get into magazines. And if you think about it, you just go, is that all they did? They just literally got someone to play guitar. That's like rubbish. But no one does that. Nobody thinks like that. They have this thing of like, you're the audience, you stay over there, we're the rock stars, we stay over here, we don't mingle. And as soon as you cross, the audience goes, this is the best thing ever. And at that point, that's how you provide value.
Absolutely. So thank you so much, Damian. So much great advice. We do a new segment on the podcast called Desert Island Albums. So if you were trapped on a desert island, what top 3 albums would you take with you and would you recommend young artists listen to?
Oh, such a good question. Okay, so I'm gonna go one which is selfish. So that's just for me. So I would say I'd have to go with Rage Against the Machine, first album, just because that was an album that just changed my life. But then I'd probably say that's also quite an angry album. And if I was stuck on a desert island, I think the last thing I'd want to be is angry. So I'd need something to chill me out. So therefore, maybe I go for some John Mayer. So I think I go John Mayer, and I think I'm going to say Room for Squares, just because I just don't know. There's something about that album. I just absolutely love that album. And then I'd need something to cheer me up and make me feel just happy. So I think I'd go for Tower of Power, the best of Tower of Power, just because I could listen to the bass all day long and just be like, this is enough. This is enough to keep me going whilst I die of starvation.
One can live off of Tower of Power. I think food, water, the bass line from Teen Town or any Town song ever.
Absolutely.
Do you have any advice for young and up-and-coming artists?
The first thing is definitely fun. I think that's so important. I think so many people who approach me about music, I'm noticing that they're putting so much pressure on the end goal that the thing I think is there is no end goal, because what is success to you? If you say, oh, I want to be successful, it's like, well, what does that mean? Does that mean you want to be famous? Does that mean you want to be rich, how famous, how big, how successful? So I think firstly, you've got to enjoy it. The reason why you turn up at that smelly rehearsal room or that venue that has the sticky floor, the reason why you turn up to those places is because it's fun. So you have to enjoy it. And the second thing is, this is a marathon, and everybody wants it to be a sprint. And so, it's okay for us to fail a few times, because what we're going to do is we're going to be doing this for the next 10, 20, 30 years. And so if something isn't working for a couple of months, it doesn't mean it's a failure. It means you're learning just a little bit, figuring stuff out. So patience is definitely important. So if you can do those things, and you can just work every day on just 1%, just improving something by 1%. So you're thinking, how can I just make a better song, or a better release, or a better social media post, or a better conversation, or something which just improves what you do by 1%, then every day you're getting better and better. And if you're thinking of it in patience terms, then it's only a matter of time before everyone drops out, and you are better than everyone else, and you've been doing it longer, and you're the last man standing or woman standing.
Thank you so much, Damian. Welcome. So sorry. Thanks for watching another episode of the Jump Music Initiative podcast. Today we had with us Damian Keys and my co-host Kate Stevens. Thanks so much, everyone, for watching.